In this video, I try to help you with your motivation problem and also help you to become the painter that you will someday become. People ask me all the time, Uncle Adam, do you have any tricks for staying motivated? And, I've talked about motivation a good deal in the past. I've got a video, Pachow, that you can check out about it, and I've talked about it in a couple other videos as well, kind of on and off. Today's video is going to be, well, it's kind of a, it's the end of the year. We're looking forward towards the next year, and I kind of want to sort of piggyback off of an older video that I talked about and sort of explain kind of step 2 based off of that. And hopefully it will not only help you keep you motivated, but help you keep sort of kind of in perspective. So a while back, I had a video called Why Don't You Just Start? And it talked about, rather than complaining about how you just don't have the time and you just don't have complaining about how you're not painting when you're just actually not painting and you're doing other things, and how to kind of fix that by actually just starting and actually doing instead of talking. And you can watch that video up here. Again, Pachow. Kind of a rant, little bit. A lot of people said, no, it wasn't really a rant. I guess what I think of as a rant on the internet and what other people think as a rant on the internet are obviously two different things, which is probably okay. But really, I was watching that video again just recently, and because of some comments and stuff, and I was just kind of, it's good to refresh and look at some of the stuff you've talked about in the past. Sometimes it gives you ideas for, the future. And which actually today is the present, but when you see this, it'll be the past again. It's very confusing. But my point is this: getting started, going forward, actually doing the work is important. And as it turns out, getting started is a great start. But it's not the only thing. I hear from people at conventions and in comments and in tweets and things like that, stuff about how they want to get better and they want to be a better painter and they're working to get better. And I think that people don't understand a lot of times that being a better painter is not a goal. I guess it's a journey, but it's a journey you actually have to keep moving forward. Starting is important, absolutely. Actually, starting is how we start things. But moving forward is kind of putting in the work and becoming, hopefully, the painter, at least in our case, that you want to be. And you have to work towards becoming that painter. In life, you don't go from zero to expert, which most people know, but I think that a lot of people don't understand that the work not only is like, well, I got to work on it a bit and then I'll become better. It takes a lot of time. It takes a good amount of time to be able to do it. The trick is, the thing that makes our hobby different than a lot of other hobbies. If you sit down and practice music, you practice and you practice and you practice and you get better and you get better and you get better and you get better. Other than time, and I suppose, let's say a piano, you don't really have a lot of other kind of resources that you have to commit to getting better. But that's not the case with our hobby. With our hobby, if you want to practice painting, you have to have things to paint. And you have to have paints and brushes and all that stuff, plus the time to do it and the motivation and all that kind of stuff. Now, the trick is that when you sit down and practice piano for 5 years, at the end of it, you're a better pianist. But you don't really have anything tangible generally. Maybe you've had some recordings made or you've done some of that, and that's fine. But with our hobby, every single piece of practice generally results in something tangible. Now, one of the big benefits to having these tangible results as you move forward in your journey to become the painter that you're hopefully eventually going to, I don't want to say become, like it's not the end. You're going to constantly, if you do this for the rest of your life as a hobby, let's say, or as long as you can, you are eventually just going to just keep going and keep going. And there will be plateaus. I've talked about plateaus before, again with the Pachow, but you're going to keep moving if you keep putting the work in. You'll hit these plateaus, but you'll keep on going. Or you'll find some other benefit, like you'll speed up, or you'll be able to make the decisions on what kind of colors and things to use quicker, or whatever, or you'll learn new techniques more speedily. But the fact of the matter is that as you go along on this journey, there will be these mileposts, which will be all the miniatures that you'll leave behind. Now, as it turns out, some people don't like this, actually, because they want to go from, I have no miniatures painted at all, and now I want my first miniature to be the best miniature ever, and I want all my miniatures to be the best miniature ever. And I'm here to tell you, that's not part of the journey. That's not how you get where you're going. You're going to have miniatures that are not going to be as good as the ones that you do 3 years from now, or the ones you do 5 years from now, or the ones you do 6 months from now. As you work and as you keep putting in the time, and that really should be the motivating thing, is that I need to keep putting in the time so I can see the miniatures that I'm going to have in 6 months. You can't see the amazing work that you can potentially do if you don't put in the time to actually get better so that you can produce that work. None of us are time travelers here. So we have to actually go forwards through time, working to get better. We can't just fast forward to that end spot. That's the way it works. That's the way that life works. So if you want to try to find some sort of motivation for, well, I need to motivate myself to paint. The motivation should be to get better at it. You'll never get better if you don't paint, so the motivation should be, the more I paint, the more I'll get better. And admittedly, the more stuff you'll get finished. Now, the problem seems to occur in some situations where people are like, yeah, but now I'm going to have all these cheesy, junky models, which are representative of what I can do right now. And when I look back on them in 6 years, let's say, they're not going to be as good. I'm going to look back at them and go, well, those are terrible. Well, it's a learning process. It is. It's something that we look at and we go, okay, it's a learning process, and you're going to have to understand that that's going to be the case. The trick is that in relation to, let's say, drawing, if you're going to practice being a person who draws, you are also then going to end up predominantly with some sort of artifacts of your practice. Maybe you draw digitally, so it's just computer files, which can be deleted or whatever. But if you're drawing on paper, you're going to have sketchbooks and sketchbooks and sketchbooks full of doodles and drawings and figure studies and whatever. And when you do that, you can look back on it and go, oh, okay, that's great. The problem is that you can't, not easily, you cannot pretty much get that sketchbook back to pristine drawing and then drawing it again. You see what I'm saying? You end up having to buy another sketchbook. Again, our hobby, which is kind of weird, really kind of has a lot of things for you so that you can paint models, and then you can learn, and then you can move on, and then in 3 years you can come back and look at those models and go, I'm better than that now. And then you can throw them into some sort of stripping agent, whether it's green, super green, simple clean, super clean, all those different cut things that you want to do. You can strip the paint off, and then you can reprime them and repaint them. You don't have to go out and buy new stuff. You probably will. If you're anything like me, you'll go out and buy some new stuff as well, certainly. But there will be times in some people's travels, some people's journey through painting, that they will decide, I don't want to look at this one anymore, but I really want to repaint it. I really want the fun and the enjoyment and the learning of repainting. And so you'll do that. I have never stripped a model that I've painted. Well, that's not true. I mean, I goofed one up really bad with bad spray primer. So I've done that. But I've never gone back years later and looked at old paint jobs of mine and said, hey, I can do way better than that now. I look at those generally as, again, like I said, milestones, signposts along the journey where I can say, look, this is what I did back in 2008, and this is what I did back in 2010, and this is what I did last year, and see the progression. It's important, and it can be, again, another motivating factor to help you just basically add more to your collection. Look at all the transition that I've made over my painting journey, as it were, which is, it feels a little weird to call it that. That's really what it is. Life kind of is a journey. So as we move into 2018, into the new year, understand that one of the big things that should motivate you, besides the fact that if you're playing a game, you'll now have painted models to play with or a painted army to play with. One of the things that you should really keep in mind is the fact that you can't move along to become the better painter that you can be if you don't take the time to actually paint and you practice through painting. That's how you get better. And the results are going to be more painted models, which, like I said, down the road you may decide whether you want to strip them or not. It's up to you. But the motivation should be to actually get better. Now, if you're just looking to I just need to get these guys painted and I don't care about getting better or getting worse or anything along those lines, well, that is a different story. Then motivation is going to be trying to get the job done. You just want to get these guys done at the lowest possible quality, or even a decent possible, whatever you're at right now as far as your skill level. That's great. You want to do that, get it done, and then not think about it. But if you want to keep getting better, the motivation to keep getting better is really what should be driving you to keep practicing, which keeps you getting better. It's kind of I don't want to say it's a vicious cycle, but it's certainly a cycle. The better that you can get, the better that you'll be able to keep getting. And the only way to reach that kind of goal is to not only start, but to continue moving along the journey. So I hope this helps. I hope this is something that can help you as you move into your next year of hobby. If this is something that you think might help a friend of yours, share it. Send them a link or whatever, share it in groups, whatever, that kind of thing. I want to try, like I said, for a long time now, I want to try to get more people into painting, and it's not just getting them into painting and then leaving them there. I also want to help to, if I can, teach or inspire or whatever I've got to do to get you further along and to get to you enjoying it. Because honestly, once you really become to enjoy it, the question about how do I get motivated becomes a question you ask less and less, because it's just something you're going to want to do.